Hi, everyone. I wanted to provide a lecture for this week's two topics because they are probably the most difficult to explain and understand uh, without a technology background, and also because these are the two, I think, most current or in terms of emerging technology that's to be implemented and being used by organizations as well as HR. So I will give you a definition of each technology, provide some examples, and then the required reading is at the end of this presentation. And I'll also post those slides, those the articles that need to be read on the checklist for this week. So blockchain. Blockchain is a growing list of records called blocks that are linked using cryptography, which are basically codes, and each block contains a cryptographic hash of the previous block, a timestamp, and transaction data. So blockchain was originally created to manage Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, uh, but after the technology was created and applied, others have seen that it can be utilized in different ways. So why is blockchain relevant to HR? Because by design, blockchain is resistant to modification of the data. Each block is a blockchain. In a blockchain is a secure and verifiable record of data and transactions. Blockchain technology can be used to create secure and verifiable e-documents such as digital diplomas or resumes. So imagine, if you will, how blockchain can impact recruiting, and from the perspective of you could create a resume online and you could do something where all of your past job experience is verified by your former employers, and each one is added as a block. So, for instance, um, for me, it would be Golden Gate University would be a block, and then Social Imprints, my other company, would also be a separate block, and all of these blocks would be built and chained and linked together until they created a resume. And at the end of that, all of the employee experience, I could have a digitally verified diploma from Golden Gate University. So it would allow recruiters and prospective employers to um, skip the education and even the employee background verification process. Because of the security and design of blockchain, it's believed that um, the information or the blockchains that could be created would be a lot more reliable. In addition, um, it would also be a more secure way for HR to actually acquire and store employee data. So if because HR has to collect information about from personal background, everything from demographics to addresses to even medical information. There's been some developments that indicate that it would be more secure for HR to actually collect that information using blockchain technology. So back in 2017, MIT began issuing digital diplomas using the blockchain technology to its graduates. So graduates can provide these digital diplomas to prospective employers and forego the process of education verification. So again, imagine if anytime you go through a process or you're interviewing for a job and they ask you where you went to school, where you worked, instead of having to the employer or the recruiter having to go back and call your former employers or even call the school to verify your diploma, they would be able to do that just by using the blockchain technology. So it's very interesting. There's, again, a couple of articles at the end of this presentation that delve more into how blockchain will impact and is impacting human resources. So Internet of Things. It's basically a system of interrelated competing devices, mechanical and digital machines, objects, animals, or people that are provided with unique identifiers and the ability to transfer data over a network without requiring human to human or human to computer interaction. And as you can see in the diagram, it's saying, this. I thought this graphic was very relevant because it says, "What is your car saying to your shoes?" Internet things is about, and let me provide some examples. It's all of those products the devices that we use on a day-to-day basis that are connected to other things. Our Apple Watches connect to our phones, which connect to our laptops. Same with the Fitbit and this other Samsung wearable watch. All of these devices using the internet and using Wi-Fi can actually provide data or send our data to anywhere, generally back to the organization who created it. So, for instance, our Apple Watch data, you can opt out of it, but if you don't, everything you do in terms of from the health and tracking, and even the way they've been tracking heart um, heart symptoms and heart related illnesses, that information that is collected in your Apple Watch without doing anything, um, without you having to make any or take any actions, that information is being sent back to Apple. And that's what they're using to make modifications and continue to modify those devices. Likewise, our cars are mini computers now. They have stolen vehicle tracking, uh, vehicle location, driving behavior. I have a T-Mobile Sync, I think it's a Drive Sync, and it basically I got it because it provides broadband reception when I'm in the car, which was great when I was consulting. But the other thing that it tracks, which is pretty interesting, is every time I take my car or go somewhere, it tracks where I'm going. It tracks what time I left. So uh, the internet and technology and products have become so integrated that we almost don't think about how they mix, even how much and how often they mix in our lives. A couple of more examples. So home appliances like the Samsung Smart refrigerator, it can sync your grocery list to your smartphone. It can cast television programs. It has internal cameras that allows you to scan inside. So if you're at the grocery store and you can't remember whether or not you have eggs, this refrigerator will allow you to look inside of your refrigerator to see if you in fact have eggs. So very high tech. A couple of really cool products also are these shoes. So the EasyJet shoes uses Google Maps to help to give where a turn-by-turn direction. So if you're like myself and you're somewhere like in San Francisco and you get easily lost, these tennis shoes can actually provide directions uh, using either haptics, which is that buzzing tactile kind of function, or even by relaying that information into your phone or your watch. And these last shoes are very interesting as well. These use haptics. And again, haptics is, that whenever, if you have an iPhone, or actually even it's used in video games as well, anytime you take an action and it buzzes, or there's that small vibration, that's what a haptic is. And it uses haptics to help the visually impaired navigate. So if you can imagine someone who's visually impaired and they have these haptic shoes, if they're about to run into something, or if their proximity becomes close to something like a curb, then the shoe will actually vibrate to let them know that they need to turn or avoid that direction. So how is Internet of Things being used in the workplace? They're creating smart offices that are using Internet of Things, the IoT technology, can basically ascertain who's in the office, how long employees are at their desk, if they're at their desk, who's in the conference room. Likewise, these smart offices can adjust temperatures, lighting, according, not based on the time of day, but according to who's actually in the office. So that's a very interesting one. I think it kind of, there's some borderline privacy issues there, but it's also used in company badges. So, for instance, if you have hourly employees and you might have a badging system where they have to be in a proximity, what they call geographic fencing and timekeeping, in order to clock in or out. That's the type of technology that's used in those badges to ensure that the employee is actually within. I think it can be anything that you set, but generally it's within 5 or 10 feet of the office. Asset tracking badges for equipment. Again, the there's a lot of technology out there that you can use to actually attach to your laptop or phone or whatever to track it. Tag is probably one of the most popular types of tracking devices. And just so you understand the magnitude of how IoT technology, how much it's going to be, we're going to see it more in our future. Microsoft is investing $5 billion over the next 4 years um, to develop and create products that can utilize the IoT software, excuse me, technology. So the two questions to keep in mind when you're reading these articles are what workplace uses could HR utilize with IoT? And then what concerns does HR need to have about Internet of Things or IoT technology? So again, just a brief lecture providing a little more detail regarding the topics for this week. So these are the four required articles to be read for this week. And again, I will post both the names and links of these articles on your weekly checklist as well. Thank you.